Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Dragonheir SilentGods video. In today's video, I want to talk about what I believe to be top 10 best support heroes when it comes to the rares, okay? And if we go into the gallery to check, and I want to explain a little bit first before I jump into this, but if you go in here and select just support, I don't mean exactly support as what they classify as support, okay? Because if we have a look through these, honestly, maybe half of these people that are classified as support are actually good damage dealers. So like some of the top ones are damage dealers. I don't know, for example, Questa, let me see what she is. Yeah, Questa is an amazing damage dealer. Voresh the same, Zerloth the same. So there's quite a few that they qualify as support but are actually damage dealers. And what I mean by support from this category are actually people that will support your your team in a positive way, in a sense of like heals, shields, good buffs and stuff like that. So I feel like this is really important to cover because you know what, there are tons of heroes in this game. Okay, you might be pulling a ton of epics, but maybe, like I said, you might be pulling a lot that say support, but they're not actually support, they're actually damage dealers. Like even Dane is a good example. He's support, but he actually deals damage, he dispels debuffs, puts debuffs, he dispels buffs, not debuffs, he puts debuffs and stuff like that. And you might still need to work on some rare ones that are actually end game viable. So I compiled a list of 10 people that I believe are pretty good, like throughout, to maybe not all of them would be good for endgame, but most of them are actually good for endgame. And I guess let's start it off with one of the free ones that it's actually the second hero that we get in the game, and that is Hexandra. Well, Hexandra is an amazing healer, and she's definitely viable till the end game because of the way her kit works, okay? So she has an Enlightenment aura in all battles. She has a passive that boosts her heal if your ally is under 40% HP. She has a battle skill that heals one ally and dispels one debuff, which is pretty amazing for the Grave of Venom, okay? Because you get a decreased defense in there, so this one can help. And then she has a pretty massive AoE heal on her ultimate with a big range. The reason why she's so good and she's viable till the end game is 1, she's rare, easy to book. Then 2, she has pretty good heal. And 3, she's one of the very few healers that actually doesn't bring buffs. And for one of the end game dungeons, which is the Ancient Battlefield that gives us negative runes, you do not want to have people in there that bring buffs, because the more buffs you have, the more the boss will steal and boost his own damage. So that's why I really want to talk about Hexandra, because she's definitely one of the better ones. Now, if you move over to a second healer, that's kind of the same category, that's Corine. He's the Radiant healer, and he has a pretty good kit as well, because again, on the passive, he has a 20% chance of increasing the amount of healing by 50%, which can be huge. Then on his battle skill, puts a shield on the ally and also gives them recovery over time with a pretty good cooldown, 10 seconds. It's kind of standard, but still, this 10% target max HP can be huge for your tank. If they get that shield plus recovery over time, it's a massive amount of healing. And then on the ultimate, he has a 15% max HP heal, okay, from the target again. So Hexandra has 20%, but he also brings defense up. So if you manage to put your whole team in this area, for example, in something like Vortex, this is going to be huge, because you're going to have them all grouped, you're going to get good heals, and you're going to get that defense up to make you survive longer. So Corine is pretty amazing for that. And not only that, he has a really low recharge time, 16. That's just crazy. I just realized that now. 16 is amazing. Like I said, most of them have around 20 as the average. So Corine definitely one of those top tier ones. Then another one which you might have already seen me talk about on the channel a lot, and maybe heard other people talk about a lot, and that is Anna. The reason why Anna is so amazing is because she's the only rare in the game, unless I missed somebody, even though I checked everyone, she's the only rare in the game that has an AoE debuff dispel, okay? So on her ultimate, grants recovery over time to all allies and dispels one debuff from them. This is a full board, okay? So it's not an area, it's a full board. So it doesn't matter how you place your people, this is gonna be helpful. She's gonna be good for places where you get lots of poisons, where you get lots of debuffs, in places like the Flame Domain, in the story. So Anna is definitely one of those endgame viable ones just because of her ultimate. Her passive also gives her some self-sustain, that every time she takes damage that would exceed 25% of her max HP, she gets healed by 15%. So that's really massive. And then on the battle skill, again, just gives recovery over time to one ally, to help heal them up a little bit more. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out on Anna. Now if we move over to another one, this is one of my personal favorites, and that is Megan, okay? The reason why Megan is so good is because, well, she kind of has almost the same thing as Corine on her ultimate. It is on a 20 recharge time, but she gives defense up, she gives recovery over time instead of giving the, you know, the 15% max HP heal. But this one's good because, again, it's a pretty wide area. Then on her battle skill, heals one ally by 10% of their max HP and boosts their ultimate energy. This one's usually going to prioritize whoever has the lowest HP. But the best thing about her and what makes her like really viable for her endgame is the passive. When casting skills on an ally, dispels one defense penalty from the ally. So as an example, the temporal vortex, once it hits the 4th difficulty, he's gonna start putting defense penalty. So if you don't have any other cleanser, or if you don't have somebody that puts the, you know, block debuffs buff, you know, the, I don't know how it's called, debuff prevention, something like that, this one comes in clutch, because you're gonna let the boss put that decreased defense, then you're gonna straight up go with her ultimate, which is an AoE, cleanse that up, give yourself defense up, give yourself recovery over time, and that's gonna be massive. And even up until then, same principle if you're talking about the Grave of Venom, where the side ball, I guess, like on the right, puts decreased defense every so often on your, usually it's gonna be your tank. She's gonna be able to cleanse that off either with her ultimate or with her battle skill. So that's what makes Megan really amazing, and I really love this hero. I'm quite sure I'm gonna use her in some of my teams, even though I do have legendaries and lots of epics. Now if we move over to one of the newer ones that was added, I did not personally test them, but you know what? It's one of the very few healers that we have in the rare department, because there's like, what, there's 5 healers as rares. So definitely he deserves a shout out, and that's Kaleido, or Kaleido, however you would read it. So first of all, he brings an aura, Captain Aura, 18% HP in all battles, which can be really good. Then on the passive, gains defense up for 10 seconds when casting a skill. When the skill takes effect on an ally with less than 60% HP, grants defense up to that ally as well. So it can keep you healed up against something like Grave of Venom or any other spot where your tank soaks up a ton of damage. This can be helpful to just heal them back up. And you know, same principle, this one can be good for the temporal vortex, because, well, he has a heals allies by 10% of target's max HP and 2200 enlightenment. So again, if you think about temporal vortex, the more you go into the fight, the more damage you're gonna get. So when he casts this ultimate to heal you, if your team is under 60% HP, he's also gonna give them defense up. So that's crazy. Let me see if I read it correct. So gains defense up, okay, when casting takes effect on an ally, so he always gains defense up on himself, and then if the allies are under 60%, places defense up on all of them. So again, that makes him pretty amazing. Then also on the battle skills, grants ally protection to the ally with the lowest HP for 5 seconds. With an 8-second recharge time, this can be massive, because, well, he's gonna soak up some of that damage because of the ally protection, and paired with his passive, you know, that gives himself always defense up, he's gonna be an amazing healer. Again, I have a feeling he's gonna be viable even for the end game if you don't have better options, obviously. Now let's move to another one that's a little bit in the same healer category, but surprise, surprise, she's not a rare actually, she's a common, and you might have seen some people make videos on her, but that is Meredith, okay? The reason why, again, she's really good and she can be endgame viable is because, first of all, on her ultimate, straight up 25%, let me move myself a bit, 25% target max HP heal. 25% is high, it's the highest. The area is a bit smaller, but still, this is a massive heal. Unfortunately, it's like, you know, the recharge time is kind of slow, but still, for a common, this is amazing. Then on her battle skill, again, heals one ally by 20% max HP, again, a huge heal. And then on the passive, healing from the hero increases by 10%. So she's gonna bring you some massive heals, not as big areas, but if we think again about the end game content that I mentioned, the ancient battlefield, the last dungeon, the last normal dungeon that we open up for gear, well, she brings no buffs. So she's a viable healer for that dungeon specifically, so do not forget about Meredith, keep her in mind, okay? Keep her in mind because she's amazing. Now, the last ones that I'm gonna mention are a little bit different. They do not do, you know, they're not healers per se, but they bring some really good, you know, support capabilities. And let's start with Dubok, okay? So what he has is, again, he brings a Captain Aura, 18% defense in all battles. That's massive. Then on his passive, when allies are inflicted with control, recharges ultimate energy by 25%. This effect can only be triggered once every 5 seconds. So this one's gonna recharge his, if I'm understanding correctly. So when allies are inflicted, recharges ultimate energy. So his one, 25% is actually pretty good. There's not many areas where this is gonna take effect, but again, in the ancient battlefield, there's gonna be one person that will be stunned. So if you do not resist that stun, he's gonna gain more ultimate energy. And then on his ultimate, well, he gives a 15% max HP shield to each ally within range and dispels all control from them. So this pairs really well with his passive, where if there's a control, he gains more ultimate energy, then he just dispels that one. And the beautiful thing about this is it's max HP. It's not target max HP, it's his max HP, which means you can just build a ton of HP on him, and then you can make some massive shields with this ultimate. Also on the passive, he does, you know, he has a little bit of damage and a chance to stun. This is nothing too crazy. It's all about his passive, his aura, and this ultimate. So keep Debuff in mind if you need some extra support capabilities. You know, maybe you don't want to bring your adventure in that situation and you want to try and keep a pairing of the same elements. That's where Debuff comes in. Then there's another one that does something similar, and that is, let me just find her, and that is Jirana. Okay, Jirana, same thing. She gives shield 20% of her max HP again. She has a pretty good base to all allies within range. Then on the battle skill, she can bring accuracy down, which is not the best, but still, it's an AoE hit. This can be helpful. And then on the passive, every 3 basic attack dispels 1 buff on the target. So if you think about it, this one can be good for places like Ancient Battlefield. And then at the same time, this can be good for the Grave of Curse. Those 2 dungeons are the ones where the heroes actually get buffs. Okay, so the heroes, the bosses, they get buffs. So in Ancient Battlefield, as an example, she's gonna be amazing as well, because shields do not count as buffs. Okay, keep that in mind. Shields do not count as buffs when it comes to the Ancient Battlefield. So you can bring as many shields as you want, and then also having the dispel from the basic skill, you can just build her with I don't know, as much as you can with the attack interval, the attack haste, okay? And just give her as much HP, and she's going to be an amazing support for those dungeons. Now, let's move over to the next one, and this one's going to be a little bit of a different one, because he's not a healer, he's not a shielder, however, he's just an amazing support / tank champion overall, and that's Fitz. I did mention Fitz in my video yesterday when I talked about top 5 best tanks when it comes to rares, but I feel like he deserves to have a shout out in the supports category as well, because of the utility that he brings for a lot of content in the game. That helps you pass stories, you know, beat Feywild, farm the Flame Domain, and it's all about his just simple and amazing kit. Gains 10% max HP shield, gains 10% max HP, sorry, heal, not shield, and transfers all ally debuffs to the target hero. It's a full board debuff transfer, so it doesn't matter if everybody's split up, he's gonna take everybody's debuffs, throw them on himself, and for each successful debuff transfer, he's gonna gain more healing. And then after that, he has an amazing battle skill that's on an 8-second recharge time, which is massive. Randomly dispels 1 debuff from the hero and gains defense up, okay? So if you're thinking about places like, again, Flame Domain, where the boss puts a ton of burns on you, he can take all of those burns, put them on himself, and then comes back with the battle skill and just cleanses those off, plus putting defense up. Same principle if you're talking about the Feywild and your Fey Meander. I call it Feywild because that's what it used to be in the beta. But in the Fey Meander, when you're fighting the Lady of Granaries, she's going to throw a ton of poisons on you. Well, he's going to take all of those poisons, put them on himself, and then hopefully shortly after, he's going to cleanse that off. Plus, on the passive, the more debuffs are inflicted, the less damage he takes. This one's pretty vague, but it's, you know, I guess it's simple and self-explanatory. So Fitz definitely makes the top 10 in my opinion. And then the last one, which is again somebody that made the tank list, but it's again a good support, that is Dane. Okay, he's again a tank defense person. He brings defense in dungeon increases the all allies defense by 24% in dungeons. It's a pretty good aura. This is like an epic level aura. On the passive, grants the ally with the lowest HP within 1 tile around the hero defense up equal to 30% of the hero's defense at the start of combat. This does not specify otherwise, but I heard people say that this is on for the whole battle. So you're straight up protecting one of your, your squishiest hero by giving the defense up the whole battle for 30% of his defense. So if you stack a ton of defense on him, that's going to be massively helpful. Then on the battle skill, he has a, he deals damage and has a 100% chance of inflicting stun. It's only for 3 seconds, but it's 100%. It's on the battle skill, so it's going to be pretty useful. And then his ultimate, this one's the supportive part of it, amazingly, apart from, the passive. He grants ally protection to one ally for 10 seconds and damage reduction to this ally and nearby allies for 10 seconds. So damage reduction means you straight up take 30% less damage. So again, if you think about something like the temporal vortex, everybody's going to be grouped together. You're going to have this proc, if you build him with some skill haste so he comes back to it pretty fast, you're going to have damage reduction most of the time, which means 30% less damage, which means you're going to last longer and do a ton more damage. So yeah, I think, this was it for the top 10 supports when it comes to the rares category, in my opinion. I hope this is helpful. I've heard some people say like, oh, you should make stuff like this about epics, maybe some legendaries, but I really want to focus first on the rares because it's more common for people to actually pull rares than epics. I'm going to do an epic tier list as well. I'm going to try, first of all, I'm going to do like top 10, 15, 20 epics in the game, depending, how many I see that are amazing. And then I'm going to do the same thing for that category as I did with rares. I'm going to classify top 10 DPS, tanks, and then healers, because this should hopefully be helpful for you guys. But for now, I hope the rare list gives you some ideas of what you should focus on, who you should build, and maybe, if you already built some of these heroes, you're not going to regret it because you're like going to be like, oh, obviously they're good. So, hopefully you're going to be happy about that. But anyway, this is going to be it for the video today, guys. As always, if you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel to see when I upload next, because, I'm uploading daily and I'm trying to do as relatable of content as I can so I can help as many of you out there. And yeah, I'm going to see you all in the next one. Peace, love, take care, everyone. Bye, guys.